Hey guys, I wanted to just talk a little bit about karma and what I believe karma is. So, whenever we have an emotional charge, it's called a charge because we're perceiving more positives or we're perceiving more negatives. So, anytime we get out of neutral, we have a charge. And whenever we have a charge, it's just like an electrical charge. It's going to have a magnetic force, or it's going to have an attraction or a repulsion, right? So every time we have an emotional charge where we see more positives than negatives or more negatives than positives, now we're charged. So when we're charged, we will attract with our magnetic force. And we may attract what we want, or we may attract what we don't want. And when we are neutral, then we become grounded, right? So now we're grounded. So how does karma play into all of this? So because our reality is infinite, because it's made from energy, and energy cannot be created nor destroyed, and there's no lack of it, it's infinite. And infinity can only be balanced. It can never be imbalanced. And nothing is missing within infinity. So infinity is also all-encompassing. So that means that our reality is perfectly balanced. But when we become imbalanced, now we are going to attract karma, which can otherwise be known as balancing forces. So now, if we have a very positive perception of someone, let's say, now we're going to attract balancing forces of a negativity, some form of negativity that we're going to feel, or some kind of pain that we're going to feel. Maybe it's craving, maybe it's desire, and that could be from a very infatuated, positively charged emotion. So now we're going to feel that craving and that desire, that want, that need, and we can become very needy, and we'll be in that pain, and we'll be in that state. And it's funny because when we're in that state, we're going to repel, because we're magnetically charged, we're going to repel the exact thing that we want. Nobody wants to be with a needy person. And on the other hand, if we're resenting someone and we despise someone, we may be attracting those kinds of people into our lives. This is where the phrase, the more what you resist persists comes from. So the more you resist that type of person, the more you may attract that type of person. And you're also, you because of that emotional charge. And why do we get these balancing forces? Why do we begin to attract exactly what we don't want? Well, now what the world is trying to do, what reality is trying to teach us, it's trying to teach us to love that person, and to love those traits, and to love those parts that you're resenting, and to perceive them as not just a positive, not just a negative, but also see how they are serving that person, how they're serving you, and get to a point where it's neutral. Yes, there are drawbacks. Yes, there are disservices, but also look at how the benefits are incorporated into that trait. Every trait is neutral. Every trait has equal benefits and drawbacks. So when you can learn to love those parts, then you become neutral. You're no longer positively or negatively charged. You no longer have a magnetic attraction or repulsion. So you can now, those things don't keep coming into your life. So how does this play in with karma? So karma is like assuming I've done something bad and now something bad is going to happen to me. So there's some guilt there. Or if it's I've done something good, now I think something good is going to come back to me, or may have used up all my good. So now nothing good is going to come. So with karma, again, it's this balancing force that is trying to get you back to neutral, back to being grounded, back to reality. And if you're perceiving you've done something bad or something wrong, you can see, and you want to clear your karma in a sense, to prevent these balancing forces. Look at why, or the benefits to you when you did the action or you had the trait. How did it benefit you in the moment? So in that moment, there was a purpose, there was a reason that you did it. It was the best decision that you had at the time. Okay, so look at how it benefited you, how it helped you to grow and helped you to learn, and start to allow yourself to clear some of that guilt. Living your life with guilt is not going to serve you, it's not going to serve others either. And also look at how it benefited the other person that was impacted. So look at what opportunity it created for them and how it served them and how it helped them to connect and to learn and to grow, to expand. And keep going. Keep thinking of more and more ways in which this person has benefited, and ways in which you have benefited and you have grown, until you get to a point of neutrality, so that you no longer need to compensate for this guilt. You saw how it served you. And the other side of guilt, if you don't clear it, you may just continue to repeat it. You may just continue to repeat that, and you'll judge others for doing that. And so you can allow yourself to free yourself and to more than just forgive yourself, but to fully accept yourself, to appreciate yourself, and to love yourself. And when you're fully neutral, now you can love yourself. You can see that what happened, or what you did or didn't do, in the grand scheme of things, from the highest perspective, was all for your growth and your benefit, and also for whoever else was involved. It's really, you have to really see things from the highest perspective, from the infinite perspective. And the infinite perspective is balanced. And just realizing that this whole reality that we live in is perfectly balanced, and that's exactly how it allows us to grow. Because it's perfectly balanced, it's the perfect balance of support and challenge. And when you have the perfect balance of support and challenge, you create the ideal conditions for growth. If there's too much challenge, then the growth is stunted, right? If it's too much support, again, the growth becomes stunted because you have too much support. So, when you clear your guilt, you're also clearing your karma. So, I'm not saying this as a justification for past actions or a justification for future actions, I'm saying that guilt and shame is a very low vibe. And when you are resonating or being in guilt and shame, first, let's look at how we're feeling, right? And what we are doing. So when we're in guilt and shame, we are likely to be more self-destructive. We're more likely to have addictions. We're more likely to be resentful or be bitter or self-depreciating. We're more likely to continue to do more actions that are resonating at the level of guilt and shame, right? So in order to raise our vibe, to raise our frequency out of the guilt and shame, we have to see the action from a neutral perspective. We have to see the action having equal positives and equal negatives. And when we raise our vibe out above the level of guilt and shame, then those actions that we were doing, those destructive low vibe actions that we were resonating with and depending on, and we were getting some benefit or some payoff out of it. Well, now since our vibe is higher and that we're out of pain and we're into peace, now we don't need to take those actions anymore. Now we can do more productive, more creative actions. So these seeing the balance is not about justifying actions that are considered bad. It's about seeing it from a holistic point of view and getting complete with it so that you can allow yourself to get out of that level, to get out of that lower level of energy.